there is something in Congress called the Congressional Freethought Caucus. You may have heard of the Congressional Prayer Caucus. It's huge. It's mostly Republicans, but there are Democrats who are like, I love Jesus. I want to be a part of the Prayer Caucus. And it's powerful. Well, a few years ago, Jared Huffman, who is a member of Congress from California, he helped launch the Congressional Freethought Caucus. And I know that sounds like it's an atheisty thing, but it's not. Basically, the Freethought Caucus exists to promote reason-based public policy, to keep church and state separate, to oppose discrimination against non-religious people, and championing freedom of thought around the world. Well, this week, I'm happy to tell you, there are two new members of the Freethought Caucus, and that is Becca Balint from Vermont on the left, and Eric Swalwell of California, right above me there. Swalwell, you may be more familiar with because he's on TV a lot. Becca Balint from Vermont, she was elected in 2022 as Vermont's only member of Congress. She served 8 years in the state Senate before that. She was the first Jewish person this past November. She was the first Jewish member of Congress to call for a ceasefire in the war with Hamas. So progressive and awesome. Eric Swalwell, this is an interesting one because he was elected in 2012 and he became a regular fixture on MSNBC during the Trump era and still today. He served as a prosecutor during Trump's second impeachment. He actually used that as kind of a launching pad to gain the party's presidential nomination in 2020. That campaign did not really go anywhere. He dropped out. Joe Biden became the nominee, obviously. But there's one interesting thing about Eric Swalwell joining the Congressional Freethought Caucus, which is that when he was running in 2012, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember this, but back in my day, there was a time in like 2007 when there was literally one member of Congress who had the guts to say he was openly non-religious. His name was Pete Stark. He was a congressman from California. He has since died, but he was in Congress and he said, I'm a Unitarian, but I don't believe in God. I'm a non-theist. And that was a big deal because there are like no members of Congress who are openly non-religious. Now we have one. It's Jared Huffman, the guy who started the Freethought Caucus. Well, in 2012, Pete Stark had been in Congress for decades. He was a fixture there. And in 2012, he faced a primary challenger for one of the only times you can imagine because he was a well-liked congressman from California. Guess who that challenger was? It was someone named Eric Swalwell. And one of the interesting things in that race is that I want to show you if I could find this here. There's something that he posted on his website at the time. Here it is. I thought I had this pulled up. Here's one reason I did not like Eric Swalwell for a very long time. This is from 2011 when he was running. I'm sorry, I should say that race was in 2011 or something. It may have been a special election. I don't remember. But do we trust Pete Stark to represent our views? There was a vote to reaffirm "In God We Trust" as our national motto. And you could see here, yesterday, the U.S. Congress voted 398-9 to reaffirm our national motto, "In God We Trust." Pete Stark, the only non-theistic member of Congress, was one of the 9 people who said it should not be our motto. And look at what Eric Swalwell said. I'm going to remove my face from this at the bottom here. The 15th Congressional District deserves a member of Congress who is in touch with its people, can work well with others, and can honor our national motto. That's from Eric Swalwell back in 2011. And then guess what? He beat Pete Stark in the primary, and that was it. And that's how Pete Stark got taken out of Congress because of that, which is very interesting. And now Eric Swalwell has joined the Congressional Freethought Caucus. So I just found that to be an interesting side story. This is Jared Huffman's website. And you could see here, the caucus members, there are now 22 members of Congress. Becca Balint, Eric Swalwell being the newest ones at the very bottom there. Those are the members of the Freethought Caucus. There's a bunch of them. It's fantastic because there was a time when you would think no one would want to join this because it's easy It's so easy for like conservative opponents to use this against them. All 22 of those members are Democrats. And I should say, everyone except Jared Huffman is openly religious. Uh, I mentioned Becca Balint is Jewish. Eric Swalwell is listed as Protestant, but it doesn't matter. Anyone can support church-state separation, right? So good on them. Um, and the hope is that as this caucus grows, maybe their caucus becomes more influential. Maybe it means the stigma of being an atheist in Congress is being reduced. Maybe being associated with non-religious people, that stigma goes away. And I mean, keep in mind that the Congressional Prayer Caucus promotes this version of conservative Christianity. It is very large. It has members from both parties. In that sense, the Freethought Caucus has a long way to go. But the fact that it exists and that more members of Congress, including ones who may be in tough races in the future, are willing to join it, I think that says a lot about the fact that it's no longer the taboo that it used to be. And that's a big deal. I mean, 22 people are there. None of them think this is something that's going to hurt them in their reelection bid, this coming November. Maybe that comes as a shock to nobody, but it comes as a shock to me because there was a time not that long ago when being connected to non-religious anything was like the mark of death in any political campaign, certainly at that high of a level. But I found that to be really good news, very exciting, and I hope that caucus continues to grow.